Well, hi guys, it's video 21 time. I've sort of done a fair bit since the last video. I've stripped the roof, got that into the 2-pack epoxy, cleaned out all the gutters of course, POR 15 them, and stripped the tubs, the rear wheel tubs, and a few other bits and pieces. But the problem is I took the SD card out of the camera. Don't know why, because I didn't even really have enough footage, but took the SD card out and I've lost it. So I've also done a few rust repairs on the left-hand rear quarter. So I'm going to now do these C-pillar rust repairs at the back window. So as you can see, she's a real mess in there, and this is the good side. I chose to do the good side first because the other side is completely vaporized. At least I can sort of see where we're going now. You know what? The whole area is pretty rough and rotten. I'm thinking about just cutting the whole section out, cut that whole thing out, take it out so I can see what I've got. And basically remanufacture it on the bench. I'll just cut straight through there, up onto this lip here. But I don't want to cut onto this top edge, I want to keep that as good as I can. Fiberglass, there's bog there, there's rust in the bottom of the channel, rust all around there. But the good thing is I can actually figure out how it's been put together now. So this fiberglass is obviously from the same maestro that did the taillight section. So after a couple of hours of pondering this thing here and unpicking it and trying to get that gutter off and messing around with it, and somebody's brazed it up in there, trying to get that stuff off is damn near impossible, to separate it all and pull it all apart. So I decided to actually just use that as a guide and recreate the whole corner. Bearing in mind that the other side there's no patterns at all. I couldn't get a pattern off that if I tried. And there's no steel left up there to work with, so I'm taking patterns of all the important shapes, this is the most important shape, which is that inner section there, and of course I'll replace that later. Yeah, I'll replace that section later, but I really want to get that shape right. Just ignore that horrible shaped cut there. I had difficulties cutting it with the grinder. But what I'm doing is I've cut that piece. I've just temporarily tacked it in. I'm going to tack it all together and then take it out and weld it up. Turning out quite a bit more sophisticated than really what I wanted to go. But that whole section there, that's sort of leaned back, sort of keeps the water away from the gutter, so it's intense. Alright, so that's it all done. It's all patched in. Well, it's temporary in. I've still got to do the lip, which is going to be a little bit of a mongrel, but that's I've got an idea for that. And yeah, so she's looking really good. So what I want to do is take it out now and totally pattern it so I can recreate it for the other side. And then I'll weld this all up and just dummy fit it again, and then I'll start working on the guttering around there. So we're getting there. It's taking shape. There's 7 pieces on that patch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there'll be an 8th and a couple more for the channel as well. So it'll be a 10-piece section. It's absolutely spot on though. Very. So now what I need to do, I need to plot the location of this boot channel. I have no idea how I'm going to make this. No idea at all. All I know is it's going to involve a lot of cutting little darts and bending and welding. Hey, it's worth mentioning, up in this section here, this inside lip here, this inside panel, this is the most important part out of the whole thing, more important than that. It's got a slight sort of turn. It starts to slightly turn towards the back window around about 70 mil, probably 80 mil before the back window. Now I've been up to the other cars, up to the other shed to have a look at the boot lids that I've got there off this car. And yeah, there's a 3 mil, actually it's 4 mil, it creeps in towards the back window, 4 mil, but at that section there. Now I've checked that with a straight edge along there, it's spot on, perfect, and right at this point here it does kick out by that 4 mil, so it'll work. I could take a template, but I'm pretty confident that I got it spot on, so we'll wait and see when I put the boot lid on. Come on, fuck me. It's not my best work, but she was a real tricky one. Any panel beaters watching this will be mortified, I'm sure, but I'm happy with it. It's solid steel, better than bog, and bit of filler over it now, and she's all done. Okay, so she's Monday, it's pouring down, it's an RDO, love these days. Bit noisy in the shed with the rain on the roof. Hey, these sections here, there's that piece of steel there. So I have no idea what it did. I've remanufactured them, 2 new ones. I've just put a little bit more sort of filler over there because I had some little air holes and whatnot, so I've just put some bit more filler on that. Yes, I've remanufactured these. Technically they should go there. Well, I have no idea what they do though. Probably got something to do with the installation of the rear windscreen. I hope they're the right shape and size. They're quite accurate, but yeah. So they'll be nice. Nice new ones. The old ones, this is the best one. The other one was completely gone. So they're good. All right, I'll weld them on. Okay, we're still working on this rear quarter. I had a bit of a disaster yesterday with the air. I had water in the line, and it splattered bloody water all through the primer. So I had to wash it off while it was still wet, and I took the opportunity to. It sort of came good by the time I got up the top here. So I left that primer on. I've rubbed it back. A little blemish up here. I know, it's just a bit of powder, but it's bloody mint. It's really, really good. I've only gone halfway up. But what I wanted to do was, I've put the light on the side of this car, and down the back here, I've just run a piece of tape along that line. Down the back here, the line gets a little bit disorderly, so to speak. As you can see, I've got bare metal there, so it's a high, a little bit of bare metal there. I've got filler here, I've got a low here, and a high there. And also the line sort of slightly went uphill a bit. So I'm going to take that, and the reason why I started to do this was because I just had to fill that little cavity there, and there was a couple more on the bottom side. But I ran the tape along there, and I've got a little a low in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just put a skim across that whole guard up to the tape, and I'm just going to block that back to straighten that line up, and then I'll take the tape off and I'll do the bottom half. I don't really know how to do lines like this, but one of the guys said use tape to preserve your line, so that's what I'm going to do. Oh wow, that's a great technique. So I put the tape on the bottom edge there, and filled up to it, bogged over it, and I actually peeled it off before it set, and I sanded crosshatch down onto the edge, and until I started to see a few sort of highs, you know, just break through. And interestingly, I had it obviously way too sanded there. I'd sanded too far down there. Could potentially take a little bit more off that surface there, but I'll leave that for the minute. But yeah, I don't know if you can see, but she's 100 times better. And I mean, I thought it was really, really good before, but it's 100 times better now. Still got these two highs here where I did the repair. So hopefully we can get that with the spray putty. This edge is looking decidedly disheveled, so as you can see there, a few sort of cratery bits. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape along that line now, and I'll fill up to that and sand it back. I'm going to leave the tape on when I'm sanding it back this time, because that's pretty much sanded to height. So I'm going to leave the tape on and sand over the tape, and then take the tape off, and then I'm just going to run some filler along the seam there, where the two surfaces meet. And you know, we've got a little bit of a, but God, I mean, and that's some of the original filler that I put in like months and months and months ago when I did that repair there. So it was all way too high there, and we've still got these two highs here, so I don't know, hopefully we can get that out with the spray putty. But anyway, what a result. Shit, it's dead straight and bloody looking good. Oh well, all things must come to an end. I started filming this morning on my old video camera, and I'll show you on the white paint there. Can you see those black marks? There's one there, one there, one there. Well, they actually move. They move. Okay, so they're not on the car, they're on the camera. The lens is all got like pock marks in it from grinding sparks hitting it, and it's burnt it. So that's why it's time for a new camera. And it's got a glass lens, a glass screw-on lens or a filter, so that just unscrews. Now that allows me to, that's glass, so I can wash it off with thinners, and if it gets affected by grinder, that's no problems as well. You can buy these for about $18, they're just interchangeable. That's really cool. So it's a nice camera, and it's got all the features and functions that you'd expect. Anyways, last video from this old phone, from this old camera. Good old camera, but time to go. So I'm coming to you live on my new camera. Hopefully the picture's really good. That aside, I thought the reason why I needed the new camera was I wanted to give you quite an in-depth look at the rear quarter. I've finished the repair on this side up top, in there. I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube about doing bodywork. To be honest, I've never really done serious bodywork before, and if I want to paint this car in black, this body needs to be perfect. So I've watched quite a few videos on YouTube. Some are great, some are really, really good, some are not so good. But I came across a couple of good ones the other night about blocking the guide coat, and basically blocking your panels using guide coat. I can't actually do any more work on this top section here or the inside of that lip there until I get the boot lid on, but I cannot put the boot lid on until this comes out of the rotisserie. So I'm not even going to touch these, that top section there or there. We're close. I might have to add filler or take filler away on that section there, just to get it across the same level. But we'll deal with that when I can do the boot lid. So that's the rust repair for the other side. It's all tacked together. I still have to create the channel, the gutter, and I've got to weld that all together. But it's perfect. So we've got a low there, and we've got a high here, and some old filler from my old repair, from my old rust repair. Sort of the rust continued around there. We've hit metal there, so I've stopped. That was one of the things I learnt. Once you hit metal, stop. You're not doing yourself any favours. I've come across some of the old filler that I put in there originally, so that's great. So it's sort of brought that down all nice and sort of uniform. A little low in that section there, you can see the residue of the guide coat. But all things being equal, yeah, that's probably the worst low on that section there. Now, because I've never sprayed spray putty before, never used it, I don't know what I can get away with and what I can't. Adam said that spray putty is good to fill 36 grit scratches, so I don't know if those, that's just a low point there, but I don't know if spray putty will get that or not, or if I have to put filler on that. So it's going to be a bit of trial and error on this rear quarter. So all things being equal, that's pretty good. Now we've got quite a large low here, and it's on both sides of the style line, as you can see on the bottom section there, and it crosses over onto the top there. So we've got a low on both sides of that style line. We've got another sort of low here. It's very, very minute low, and it's a little bit higher on that top side of the style line, and we've got a couple of low spots there and there. Moving along the style line to the bottom of the filler, we've got a high there. Now that's a really aggressive high. Now that's a result of my my fuel filler repair. I'm thinking I might have to tap that down. We've got a low just there, and we've got a slight low underneath the style line. Moving further along, here we've got a high, but it's it's not that pronounced. It looks worse than what it is. And out to this section here, we've got another low smack bang in between two highs. So, and that sort of looks like it just encroaches over that style line a little bit. And we've got a high out here at the door. Across this section here where we did that rust repair, that's mint. I've got a few, I don't know if you can see that, I'll try and zoom in. So we've got a few of these little sort of imperfections in the bodywork, which I'll have to maybe fill, or I don't know if the spray putty will get that. So onto the dog leg, we've got a slight low just in that spot there. That's back to bare metal. We've got a little bit of a low just in that spot there, and we're just starting to crack through the epoxy primer, and I can see bare metal there underneath that epoxy primer. We've got a high there and a high here. Up onto the higher side, just starting to sneak through there. You can see bare metal or see metal under there, so that's getting quite thin there on the epoxy primer. We've got a high here and a low there. Okay, so this obviously needs a little bit of filler in here. On this section here, we've just broken through to bare metal there, and we've got a low here, a high. Well, it's not high there, but it's okay there, and we've got another low here. So I'm going to have to fill across there and just make that all pretty. Down here's all good. Just starting to crack through the wear through the epoxy there. Up here we've got a little low there, a low there. We're worn through there. We're almost back to bare metal there, and we're back to bare metal there. But that I think is lead. Yeah, that is lead. So I just have to probably see. I wish I could know, if somebody can help me. Will spray putty take care of that? It's minimal. It's so minimal, and that one's even smaller. Even I mean, if I kept sanding, I'd sand them out. But you can see there's a distinct line around the back, so it's obviously got that's the actual lead line through there. So when I was sanding, I've obviously sanded the lead. The lead's very soft. Anyways, works good. I've had heaps of time off. They've cut the overtime because winter, it's dark early. Plus it's always raining, so heaps of time off for this. So I'm going to smash this through the winter. The only problem is the temperature is so bloody cold. The other day it was only 5 degrees Celsius, right? So that was too cold to do anything. Well, I mean, great to work in, but too cold to spray anything. I need to find the shape for the gutter around the boot lid. That shape is sort of the boot lid contour at the top. So just cut that out, sit out of the road. Pretty good. Just going by feel, really, more than anything, and a bit of instinct. Okay, so now what I need to do is it's quite painful. I need to put a series of notches grinder cuts and all the way around, and I've got to bend that steel over. Once I bend it over, then I can trim it off. Well, this one should turn out a fair bit better than the last, the other side, because I've learned, you know. So I put the cuts in there first, then I've managed to dolly that curve quite nicely around there. Eventually, well, soon I have to cut that off and insert basically the floor to the channel. I'm just going to dummy fit this back into the car and see how we're looking. I've got all of these parts out because this is all the hardware that I need to use to assemble the car to do the bodywork, like door strikers, the fuel flap screws, all the front guard bolts, door bolts, bonnet hinges. That's the front bonnet stand, which you know, bolts to the to that boot lid hinge and whatnot. So everything's there ready to go. So. But anyways, this morning we're cooking osso buco. Okay, so that's lunch under control. Now it's time to carry on with this little creature. I've just started grinding all the temporary welds and whatnot off the inside. I've tried to keep them to a minimum because they're really hard to get to on the inside edges. And then I'll clean the back of it up, and then we'll do this gutter. Okay, so I've just got that tacked into the situation where it belongs. It's looking really, really good. So yeah, she's in the right spot. I've trimmed this bottom edge off already, and that looks to be pretty much right. Now I'm going to take a template of that shape, add a little bit so that it sort of sits underneath so I can weld it, and then we have to do the front edge. So this is going a lot better than the other side. This side, I guess, you know, you learn from your mistakes, but yeah, no, very happy with it.